Right, let's talk about our healthcare right now. More than half of British people do not believe they would get quick cancer treatment on the NHS if they were diagnosed with cancer. That's according to a new poll, which also found many people are ignoring potentially cancerous symptoms because the wait to see a GP in England can be so long. It also revealed that some Brits are, wait for it, resorting to removing lumps and moles themselves. Well, joining me right now is former NHS Trust Chair, Roy Lilley. Good afternoon to you, Roy.
Julia, good afternoon.
Thanks so much for joining us. Well, this is a poll that was carried out by Savanta, but it was commissioned by the Liberal Democrats. They say that it shows, more than half people just have no faith that it receive timely treatment. Now, there is a requirement, expectation in the NHS that once you go to a GP and you get referred, you are seen by someone within 2 months. I've had an awful lot of friends who've been diagnosed with cancer in the last few years, 4 alone with breast cancer. I am at that age. And some of them didn't get treated for much longer than 2 months. And we know I think it's every couple of weeks that you are not treated for things like breast cancer, you are basically cutting 5% off your chances of staying alive. When people say they don't have faith in the NHS on this sort of treatment, I mean, they're right, aren't they?
Well, I understand it, Julia. I had a look at NHS England's board papers because they met just last week, and the cancer report, the number of cancer referrals have gone up by 130% more than they were on pre-pandemic levels. The cancer death rate is 10% better than it was 5 years ago, so that's sort of good news. 14,000 people since the last summer peak have come off the waiting list, the 62-week waiting list. And at the moment, there are 20,000 people waiting. Now, that kind of gives you a bit of context about where we are with this. Clearly, there are two things that have happened. Firstly, there's COVID, where people were discouraged, really, from coming forward with any kind of symptoms during COVID, and that's caused a huge amount of damage. And you can see from the graphs in the report that the impact of the strikes is causing problems with outpatient appointments. I mean, my view is, if you look at the numbers, I think the general trends are downwards. That's the numbers are downwards. So I think the recovery on the cancer services is on the cards, but all the time we've got the strikes, and who knows, we may have another one in November. I think if the BMA are going to announce it, they've got to announce it pretty soon, because they have to give 14 days notice of a strike. So we may be seeing another one in November. But broadly speaking, the numbers are in the right direction. But you're absolutely right. I was involved with a case myself just this week where a guy had a high PSA with prostate cancer, and was given a 60-month referral date.
Sorry, they thought he might have cancer, and he was given a date to see a consultant 16 months away.
Yes, which is... I
mean, you may as well have just said, well, by then, it's been nice knowing you.
Well, I mean, I helped him kick up stink, and hopefully...
But you see, look, you're sharp-elbowed, I'm sharp-elbowed. We know how to do these things. The reality is that most people don't. They don't realise that you have rights to certain things, or the ability in extremis to go private.
Yes, and they do. I mean, if you look at the numbers, the Lang Breeson, who is the company that keeps an eye on the performance of the private sector, they're saying effectively that self-pay, which is people who are not insured, but they turn up and they go privately and they pay out of their pension, because at the moment you can take money out of your pension, which we're seeing older people do, or they're going into their savings, and we're seeing self-pay just go through the roof. It's a Klondike for the private sector. I mean, it's horrendous. The NHS is swamped. It doesn't have enough capacity. The damage was done in the 10 years before COVID, when we went through the austerity funding period. It's trying to get back on its feet. Recruitment is down. The number of young people who want to become nurses, applications to become nurses at university, has dropped by 17%, which is a very bad indicator, a proxy indicator of what's likely to happen in the future. And of course, trying to recover for COVID, the moment the NHS rolls up its sleeves and tries to get on with it, we get these strikes. And the strikes, although the strikes are only for a few days, they cause a ripple through the system weeks before, and weeks afterwards. They're hugely disruptive.
Indeed, but I know that our cancer treatment in this country, it's way behind many of our European
well, it never used to be. But it never used to be.
But in the last 10 years until COVID, the cancer survival rates were improving, and then basically in 2020, people in the NHS and the government basically said we're going to be only worried about people in their 80s and 90s with COVID, and we're not going to worry about people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s with cancer, and they basically turned off cancer care. I still remember interviewing the widow of a man. He's got 4 young children. His wife had cancer care, and it was cancer care treatment at home, and it was still switched off. They just refused to supply her with the drugs. And imagine everyone's surprise, she died. In her 30s. Well, frankly, I think that's manslaughter. And I think, frankly, it's murder, actually. But this is the thing.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the COVID inquiry...
No, but Roy, other countries didn't do this. Other countries did not switch off all other treatments.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the COVID inquiry will reveal the wisdom or otherwise of all these decisions. In fact, during COVID, the NHS set up cancer hubs where they tried to carry on doing some operations and screening people and staff. They took people's staff out of the normal run of NHS work and put them in special places where they were screened. So some cancer operations did take place, but you're right. I mean, the whole system slowed down. The wisdom of all that now is it's obvious to us all.
The wisdom.
And huge damage was done.
It was obvious to most of us back in March 2020, but there we are. Roy, Lilley, always so good to talk to you. We always appreciate your analysis. Let me come back to Tom.